So today we are going to be covering the dashboard. So when you first get into Resonite, you're going to have a few things just by default, and one of them is your dashboard. Now it's going to look like this for the most part. So you're going to have a lot of buttons over here and a lot of buttons over here, and this is on your home screen specifically. You can notice that down here, the very bottom, there's a lot of different tabs. The home screen is right here, all the way at the very left. So there's a few different things on here. The first one that I'd like to point out is your status. So this is similar to some other social VR games where you can set your status. Like, do you want people to be able to join you? Do you want to be viewed as online, or do you want to be invisible? And here's where you can set that. So you have online, away, busy, and invisible. And there actually has been a new one added called sociable. That one is blue and at the very top, and it will basically allow you to let others know that you're sociable, you want to socialize, you're going to go join them or they can come join you, that kind of thing. So over here, we have a few different options as well. This one is the full body tracker calibrator. And if you are an FBT user, full body tracking, then you will familiarize yourself with this. It is not quite as easy as some other platforms. However, we will make a video that covers how to calibrate your tracking in an easy way. Easy-ish. The next one down is an avatar creator. So in the platform of Resonite, you can create avatars within the platform. You don't have to go through Unity or anything like that unless you really want to. So we'll also go over that, but you will be able to click that in order to spawn out the avatar creator. And you'll be able to line up the creator to your avatar model, and then there are a few options that you will select, and you can create an avatar right on the spot. Next one down, camera streaming. So if you are a streamer on Twitch, or if you would like to record videos, such as I am right now, I'm using my camera streamer right now, then you click that, and you will get a pop-up that is the camera control, and you will want to hit mirror to display. Now, there's a lot of different camera controls that you can use on this panel. This next one down is stream audio. So if you want to, say, listen to music and then show your friends or let your friends listen to your music as well, you can stream your audio from your desktop into the game directly. There are some third-party options that make this a little bit easier. That will also be covered later. We also have a Create New World down here. So in here, you can very easily click this and just create a blank slate world. You can build anything you want, anything that you can imagine, anything your heart desires, as long as you can use the tools, and we will be putting out more tutorials on the tools, as well as linking out to other community tutorials that have already been made. This one down here, Open Home, this will bring you to your home world, which you can either create yourself, or you can set in your Dash to any world that you desire, really. This bar down here with the percentage, it represents how much cloud storage you have. Now, this is normally 1 gigabyte by default when you first join the game. If you would like more storage, there are different ways that you can do that, namely by signing up for Resonite's Patreon, and they will give you more storage if you are paying for the Patreon. So this basically just determines how much you can save to your inventory, how many worlds you can make. And it is pretty easy to fill up, depending on how much you save, depending on what you save. Down here, you can see the status of the cloud. So if there are like syncing errors going on, over the entire cloud, you will probably know right here. And if you are not syncing correctly, which, by the way, you can see up here, there's a synced button. If you are saving something and it hasn't synced yet, then this up here will tell you. If it says all synced, then you're all good to go. It's all saved. If it's still syncing or has a percentage on there, then you should probably wait because it's not synced up yet. It's not saved yet. We have another bar down here that lets you know how many users are online. A lot of the users will either be in private worlds or public worlds. I believe it tells you how many users are in desktop and how many users are in VR. We also have this entire thing over here. Now, these are a bunch of really nifty buttons. So up here, we have some nameplate settings. Now, this determines whether or not you can see people's nameplates and or if you see their custom nameplates, because there are default nameplates, and then you can also customize your nameplate to be however you like, however you want it to be seen to others. You can also hide them here as well, in case you don't want to see their nameplates. We also have a paste button. So with this paste button, you can actually, you could copy something on your desktop, Control-C, and then you could just click this button right here, and it will automatically paste into Resonite. So let's say you have a picture, and like a picture of your dog, and you really wanted to show it to your friends. All you'd have to do on your desktop is just, right-click, copy image, and then in-game, just click paste content from clipboard. And then it will come up with a little dialogue that says, like, do you want to import this image kind of thing? And you just hit the top button, and it will import the picture of your dog, and you can just show your friends right there. We also have seated mode on and off. So if you're sitting down or standing up, press that depending on which one you are. We also have a freeform dash. So this dash normally is just sort of right across, like straight up and down right in front of you. However, if you are at a different angle, like if you're lying down or leaning over or something like that, and you still want to be able to see your dash well, you can click this little lock button, and it will allow your dash to move depending on your tilt. We also have a couple of options down here. One of them being setting up some extra security for your account, 2FA, and then also a debug menu. Now, the debug menu is really nice if you're trying to determine how far along you are loading a world or loading an asset, along those kind of things. It gives you like background jobs, all that kind of stuff. So now, that is your home screen. Up here, this bar up here, this is actually going to be on your dash no matter what page you are in down here. You have your FPS all synced. You do have a leave world button up here, so if you're just like, I gotta get out of this world instantly, click that. You also have your local time right up there. We also have some voice modes up there, which we will cover in a minute. So on to the next page. This is going to be your Worlds tab. Now, this looks like a lot at first. The UI is being developed still, but for the time being, I will show you how to navigate it. So at first, it will just sort of show you everything that there is here. It'll show you all sorts of sessions, how many people are in it. You can see the little green mail icon right there. So like this one says 4, this one says 6. I believe there's a 20 right here. 20 people is generally a lot of people for a Resonite session. There have been performance updates, and there will continue to be performance updates, so look forward to that. So this bar on the left over here is a bunch of different categories that you can look into. We have the featured categories, so the worlds that are featured by Resonite, basically like, hey, this world is really cool or really useful, and we suggest that you go there. They're going to feature it and put a little star next to it. So that is where you can find those. Published worlds, the next one down, that is, well, anyone on Resonite can publish a world. They can make a world public. So if you create a world, you're very proud of it, maybe you have some of your avatars in it, and you want to share it with the world, you can publish it. There is a tool in the Resonite Essentials folder, which is in your inventory by default, that allows you to publish your world. So those will show up in this tab. Active sessions. Now, this one is, if there are people in the session, then it's an active session. There are going to be a lot of sessions that do not have any people in it. And these include sessions where the host is AFK. These include sessions where they're being hosted by headless, but nobody is in there. A headless session, by the way, is a session that is not being hosted by a person's personal computer or personal client, but a separate computer, a separate PC that is, or server that is hosting a world. For example, we are right now on the Metaverse Academia campus, and this is being hosted by the Metaverse Academia headless server. But more on that later. The next one down, contact sessions. So if you have friends or contacts, which are the same thing, you know, in other social VR platforms, they may be called friends, but here we call them contacts. So you can add somebody as a contact. Of course, you know, it has to be a mutual agreement. So you can click on someone's name tag and send them a contact request. And if they accept it, then you are now contacts. So once you have some contacts, you will be able to click on this contact session and see where your friends are. You know, what sessions they might be in. If they're in a public session that you can join, you can find them there. Headless sessions, the next one down. As I described before, you know, those are hosted by headlesses. Now, these could have people in it, or maybe perhaps not. It just sort of depends. Social. So these purple ones right here, the social, games, art, tutorials, and educational, those are categories that are that some worlds are organized into. So you can click on any one of these and explore the worlds that have to do with that subject. Shuffle, pretty self-explanatory. You hit it and it gives you some random worlds. Really nice for world hopping if you're just sort of exploring. My worlds. So when it comes to making worlds, it is possible to save the world orb, which will be explained, to your inventory. However, worlds that you make are always going to be stored here. So if you can't find them anywhere else, like in your inventory or in any of these tabs, you'll be able to find them here if you made it yourself. Group worlds. There are groups in Resonite, and these are normally determined by if you are paying for a certain level of Patreon, then you have the ability to create a group. Now, this is usually determined by creating a group folder, and it will be in your inventory in a very specific spot. Now, if we go over to our contacts page. So this is going to be your contacts page, and this is how you can contact your contacts. So your friends or contacts will be listed over here on the left. So you can click on one of these contacts over here on the left, and it will show you their username here and a bunch of different options. Now, to cover these options, this one right here on the left is either going to be a button that says Add Contact, Accept Request, or Invite Here. Now, for Add Contact, that is if you want to add them as a friend. And you just click it. And they will get a notification over here with your contact surrounded by a little purple circle. That is the notification saying, hey, this person wants to be your contact. And once you see that, it will say accept contact request. And you can click that if you want to accept them. And if you don't, I believe there is another button that says ignore request. It's right by it. If you are in a session and you want to invite your contact, invite your friend, then if they are already your contact, you can click this and it will say invite here. And that will just send them an invite. Sometimes you will see the invite button be grayed out. If it is grayed out, it means that for some reason you will not be able to invite them to that session. There could be multiple reasons. Normally, the reason will be that your contact does not have the ability to join based on how the world is set. So there are different settings that you can have for the world on how accessible it is to other people. We have private, So you can make a world private to only you and the host and the people that you decide to invite. There's also contacts, and that means only the people who are contacts of the host can join. Contacts plus, so the contacts of the host as well as their contacts can join. And then there's also public, which means that really anybody could join. There are a couple of other options that branch off from that, but I'll go over that in a minute. So over here, the other buttons here are, I believe, extremely important to know about. There are going to be a good amount of people in Resonite or in any social VR platform that have avatars that not everybody agrees with. Sometimes they will make other people uncomfortable, or sometimes, they just won't be for everyone. And so, if you come across a user with an avatar that makes you uncomfortable, all you have to do, simply, is go to their user page, which is this, and there are a couple ways you can do this, either by clicking on their name tag, or if their name tag is hidden, you can go to the users list under the session tab and click on their username, and it will bring you to their page. I will go over that again in a minute. But there is a button on the right that says block avatar. Now, this will not block the entire user. This will only block their avatar. It will create a few spheres or circles that goes over their hands and their head. And so their avatar will be blocked, and you will only see those white spheres. This helps prevent discomfort. It seems that this feature is not used quite as much as it should be. A lot of people tend to get into disagreements about avatars, but really, it's just one click. Please keep that in mind. There are also some other blocking buttons, so if a user is bothering you, or if a user is harassing you or anything like that, then you can do the mutual block button right here. And that will block both for yourself and for them. So you will not be able to see them, and they will not be able to see you. There is also a ban from current world, so if you do not want a user to be in the current session that you're hosting, then you can click that. And then ban from my hosted sessions, that means if you are hosting a session, they will not be able to join it, no matter what. So the middle here will generally show what worlds that user is in. If they are in private worlds, you will likely not be able to see it. However, if they're in public worlds, then it will list them right here. And you can join them from here too. It will have a little join button. Over here is a messaging system. So this is something that is pretty unique to Resonite currently. And so you can type out a message here and then send it to your friend. You can also send a voice message by clicking and holding this, this little red thing down here. Now you can also send objects. So if you made like a fun little thing, all on your own, and you wanted to show it off to your friend, or you made a gift to your friend or something like that, then you can actually hold the object and then with your other hand click the little send button, and it will send that object to your friend. Keep in mind, though, that this does take up some storage as well. There are several different ways that you can save objects in Resonite. One of them is through your context menu, which is this sort of like wheel-looking menu. And you'll have different options on here. Now, if you are holding an object, let's say I have my tool here, which is like this little bee. Say I wanted to save this to my inventory, then I would grab it like this, and I can use my laser to grab it as well. You might not be able to see it in the video, but I see a blue laser. You can use this laser to grab things. You grab it, and while you're grabbing it, open up your context menu, and there will be an option to save it. It's like a sort of a blue floppy disk. You click like that, then it will show up in your inventory as saved. Now, you can also do this by holding the object, and then with your other hand, you can click the Save Held button inside of your inventory, and that will save the object as well. When it comes to inventories, one of the first things that I like to tell new users is create folders, stay organized. Because when you first get in here, you're going to be like, oh my god, I can save things and then I can spawn them out in other worlds. I can give them to my friends. I can show them this. This is so cool. And you'll want to start saving everything. Now, when you save to your inventory, normally you will want to save to your root inventory, because if you're in a public folder, it will not give you the option to save to that folder. You need to be focused on your root inventory. This is your personal inventory. Now, you can also create folders within your personal inventory. This is very important to do early on, because if you're going to be saving avatars, if you're going to be saving tools, if you're going to be saving items, you want to have those separated into different folders. Otherwise, when you save everything to your root, every time you open up your Dash, it is going to load all of the things that are saved to your root. And once it becomes too long, it takes so long to load. And it is also impossible to find anything like that. So there is a Create Folder button that you can click, and it is extremely useful. Please organize. Another reason I like to suggest organizing first thing is because this inventory currently is not like File Explorer. You cannot drag folders around, you cannot drag an item from one folder to the other very easily. In order to change the location of an item to a different folder, you have to spawn out the item and then resave it to the other folder. Now, if you're doing lots of inventory reorganizing, this can take a while, and that is why it is generally recommended to organize first thing. So you will also see around that people have public folders. Public folders is something that you can make as well. So if you have objects that you've made that you really want to share with people, you want to make it public, you want to spread it all around Resonite, then all you'd have to do is put the objects that you want to share into a folder that you've made. And then you select the folder once, and there is a button on the top that says Make Public or Share. And once you do that, you will get this little sort of blue triangle in the upper right-hand corner of that folder. That lets you know that it has been made public, that you shared it. Now, generally the only way that it can be shared with the public is if you hit that button to share it and then actually send or give that folder to other people to save to their inventories. You can also do this to organize your own inventory. However, I don't really recommend that, because then you can't really tell the difference exactly between what you've made public and what you've just saved to your own inventory. I recommend only sharing the folders that you truly want to be public. One point that I really like to make as well when it comes to public folders is once you get far enough into playing or using Resonite, you're going to be saving a lot of public folders. So make a public folder within your inventory. It's often joked about because you will have your own folder named public folders, and that's where you save the public folders that you receive. So I know many people, including myself, who has public folders for public folders within public folders, and it's very meta, so to say. But it is good to organize. So this is the session page, which is on your Dash, which is down sort of in the middle of all these tabs. It's blue gear. So this is really nifty because it allows all sorts of settings for the settings and information about the session that you're in or the session that you're hosting, one or the other. So you have 3 tabs up at the top here. You have settings, users, and permissions. So settings. Now this is where you can sort of get information, get links, or save worlds. So if you're creating a world, I highly recommend, if you're creating anything really, I highly recommend saving as much as you can. You can always delete intermittent saves, but if your world crashes and you haven't saved, then you cannot get that back. I've learned this the hard way. In fact, a lot of people in here have, I believe. So save frequently, save very frequently. So when you first make a world, it is recommended to save changes. So go to your inventory and make a folder for that world. And then while you're in that folder, in your inventory, you can go over here to the Sessions tab and save changes, or save as. It will allow you to save as, and then after you save as, it will allow you to save changes. And you can just click this button, Save Changes, whenever you want to make a save. Now, when you save changes to the world, it will not create a new world every time. It will just save the world that you are working on, the Save As that you clicked initially. If you want to save a copy of the world, there is this button, Save Copy, down here. One thing to note, when it comes to, well, when it really comes to anything that you're saving to your inventory or otherwise, once you have an asset saved, like, let's say I save this world, and I also want to save my little bee right here. If I save the world without the bee in it, then I've saved the world. And if I save a copy of the world exactly as it is, but with the bee in it, the storage is only actually going to take the bee and make those changes. So once you already have an asset saved to your inventory, it will not save a copy of the asset if it is the same asset that you saved before. So if I save my avatar to my inventory, and then I make just a few changes, and then save a copy of my avatar to the inventory, the storage will only account for those changes that I made. Now, when you do save as, when you save your world, it is recommended to make a world name, set how many users can actually join the world, and also a description. So the reason it's important, especially to set the maximum number of users, is because when you are hosting a session, you are generally going to be hosting on your own PC. So if your PC is not very performant, like it's not really a powerhouse PC, then it probably won't be able to handle a lot of users in the world. Generally, I suggest keeping it to maybe 10 users or under. If you have a powerful PC, you can go above that. If you're hosting on a pretty strong headless, you can go even further above that. And then, there's going to be performance updates to Resonite over time as well. And so hopefully, we'll be able to make that number bigger and bigger. I believe that the most amount of users that have been able to join a session so far on stress tests and things like that have been over 100 users. Now, if you do want to invite other people to the world and you have the ability to, then you can get a session orb. And this is only for the session that is currently being hosted. You can get a session orb, and then you can bring it to wherever you desire, and you can put it out and say, hey guys, I'm in this world right now. You should double click on this orb and it will bring you to the world, which that's what it does. The session orb will normally be sort of purple in color. A world orb is a little bit different. That is a link to the world itself and not the session that is being hosted. So if you're hosting a world or admin of a world, then you can change these options over here. Now these options let you give permissions for specific people to join. And by that, I mean if they are your contacts, if they are the contacts of your contacts, or if you just want it to be private and only you can invite people. There are several of those here. There is private, which is invite only, LAN, which is not very often used, but if you are, say, at a university and you're using a LAN server or something along those lines, then you can use that. like I said, not often used. Contacts, Contacts Plus, registered users. So the difference between anybody, because there's anyone right here as well, anyone and registered users is that anyone, there are people who can use Resonite that don't necessarily have their account registered yet. And this normally requires like an email and sort of a verify type of thing. Further down, we have some settings on AFK kicking. So when somebody goes AFK, generally that means that they are not focused in the world. So they might be in like a different session, in a different world, or they might be like in their local home, but they are not present in the world. This can normally be determined by a couple of things. One, if the user is standing completely still or holding completely still and their materials change, the default away material in here is a black Fresnel material. And so if their materials change and they're frozen, then then you can generally tell that they're AFK. There is also, by checking under the users tab up here, if the name is in italics instead of just regular text, that will generally mean that they are AFK. So if you want the user to be kicked out of the session after a certain amount of time of being AFK, then you can set that right here in minutes. So for example, if you are hosting an event or hosting like a workshop, say, we have a workshop here on campus every Wednesday, then if you want people to be able to focus away from the session, but still be able to come back within maybe like 20 minutes or even an hour or something like that, then you can set this to be that amount of time. If you want them to be kicked immediately as soon as they go AFK, you can also just set this to be a very low number, like even below a minute. If you don't want them to be kicked at all, you can just uncheck this little box right here. There's also an autosave down here. So if you're working on a world and you often forget to save, let's say, and you want it to save like in sort of an incremental amount of time, then you can make the world that you're working on save automatically. Sort of right here, I believe it's every 5 minutes. I usually like to set mine for 10 or 15. You'll often sort of feel a little bit of a hitch in the world when it does save, so you know that it is saving. But, a lot of people sort of like to manually save over here, save changes. There are a couple of other things, such as cleaning up assets in the world and edit mode. I can go over those more later. I generally don't touch those, though. So now, under the Users tab up here, there is going to be a list of users, and there are going to be a few options next to that. So the list of users is going to be on the left. Now, if you want to open up that user's page in your contacts menu, then you can simply just click on their name in there, and that will allow you to, use any sort of options that you need, whether it be adding them as a contact, blocking their avatar, or anything like that. There is also some sliders next to their name. Now, those are volume controls. So if somebody is struggling maybe with their audio and you're hearing like a loop back and it's really bothering you, then simply turn down their audio. And this will also allow you to mute them if you need. Next to that, there is actually just a mute button. That doesn't require you to do anything with the slider. You can just straight mute them. There's also a jump button right next to that. So if you enter a world that you know your friend is in, and you look around you physically and you don't see your friend, then all you would have to do is find their name in the user list and click the jump button, and you will jump straight to them. Now be careful, because next to that you can see the respawn button. Now, generally you don't want to respawn people, unless it's yourself. Because if somebody's working on something and you respawn them by accident or by purpose, then a lot of the work that they're doing might be lost, and that wouldn't be very fun for anyone. So I would say unless it's yourself, or unless you're trying to help somebody get unstuck, or somebody really needs to be respawned and they can't get to the dash themselves, try to avoid that button. There is also, if you're a moderator of the session, you can silence them, you can kick them from the session, or you can ban them from the session. The next one, the next tab in the session is going to be this permissions tab up here. So the way that permissions work is if you are a builder, a moderator, an admin, or anything that has sort of higher permissions in the world, then you can give other people permissions. Now, I will briefly go over what the permissions mean. So if you are a spectator, that means that you can move around the world, but you cannot interact with anything. So you can't click anything, you can't grab anything, move anything. You can still talk to people if they have the settings on for that. However, you can't interact, you can't save, nothing like that. If you are a guest, that means that you can interact, like you can touch buttons, you can save things, you can spawn things. So it does give you a little bit more freedom than spectator. If you are a moderator, that means that you do have a little bit more freedom to change permissions or change things about the session. If you are a builder, that means that you can use tools in Resonite. So you can equip things to your hands, you can build things, you can give other people builder permissions. The same goes for if you're an admin. Now, admin does give you some extra permissions as well, specifically to save the world, save a copy of the world, that kind of thing. So if you want to give someone full access over that world, then give them admin. If you want to give someone no access to the world, give them spectator. If they are your friend and you want to build something with them, give them builder. These can also be set in your world. If you're going to publish a world, then you can set those permissions sort of at the top there where it says default anonymous, default visitor, etc. Once you publish it, the things that are selected there will be in the published world as well. The next tab that I'm going to go over is the desktop tab down here. So this is a part of the UI that allows you to access your desktop while you are in VR. So say I wanted to go to Spotify, and I'm listening to music on my desktop and I want to go to Spotify and change my song. All I would have to do is open up the desktop tab right here, and then I would be able to see what you would normally be able to see when you're just sitting at your computer. And you can interact with your desktop as well. You use your laser as your cursor, and you can click things. Now, this is similar to your Steam dashboard as well, because you can also do this on your Steam dashboard. If you click your Steam button, whichever one that might be on your controller, then you can see how this works. But in Resonite, if you would like to switch your desktop, say you have multiple monitors, you can switch by hovering your laser over the dash that is on the desktop tab, and you can click your context menu button. It will give you an option to switch to a different monitor. Now, this does technically allow you to be in multiple programs at once while you're in VR in Resonite. So I have known people who like to play a bunch of different games while they're in Resonite. So they'll be sort of in VR and in their dash, and then they'll have different facets or different windows up in front of them. it can get really wild and really fun. So that is the desktop tab. Now with this Files tab, say I'd like to export something from Resonite to my desktop, say, or really anywhere in your computer. And if, say, I wanted to go to my desktop and my C drive, so all I would have to do is, as if you're navigating in your inventory, I would double click on my C drive and then navigate over to my desktop. Say I have a picture or an image in Resonite and I would like to export it to my desktop. So, I have this nice little poster for one of our community classes. Now I want to export this to my desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this image with one hand, and with my other hand, I'm going to click the export button. Now, once I do that, it will give me a dialog for how I want to export it. The export dialog has a very, very useful feature from Resonite, and this is called a Resonite package. Now, this allows you to export anything that you've made in Resonite, and it will save to your computer as a Resonite package. Now, you can import this Resonite package into Resonite later, and it will import exactly as you had exported it. Now, Resonite packages are really only compatible with Resonite so far. They're really, really useful for, say, you want to export your avatar that you've set up and worked on with a lot of care in Resonite, and you want to save it on your computer and bring it in again later. Or maybe you can take the Resonite package and put it in your Google Drive and then put it on a different PC. Or if you made a new Resonite account or anything like that, and you wanted your avatar to be in its complete form for your new account, you can export as a Resonite package and then bring it back in as a Resonite package. Now, if I want to save my image as a PNG to my desktop, it will also give you that option. All you have to do is select which way you want to export it. Now, the migration tab. This is only really something that you have to worry about if you used to play the platform that came before Resonite, which was Neos. The community has moved over to Resonite, and so of course we needed a way to bring our items from Neos over to Resonite, and that's what this migration tab is. Now, if you want more information on how to migrate your things from Neos to Resonite, there is a link to the wiki that I will put in the description of this. This last tab here on your dash, all the way at the right, is the exit tab. Now, this is how you exit Resonite, and it does give you a couple of options. So it gives you the exit and save homes. Now, this is recommended if you're doing a lot of building, and you say you're in multiple sessions in Resonite, and some of them you haven't saved yet, but you really have to get out of the game, you have to exit, and it's like, okay, so I'm just gonna save homes and exit, and that will allow your homes and your worlds to sync up as it is exiting. So you will get a percentage of how much it has synced as it is exiting the game. You want to wait for it to finish syncing before you exit the game. Now, if you are, for example, working on items instead of worlds, this is not going to save those items. It will only save the worlds that you're in. So always remember to save frequently, including your avatars, items, tools, worlds, anything. I only recommend exit and discard homes if you are not working on anything. Say you're just socializing and you already have everything saved and you're and you just want to get out of the game really quick, then perhaps you can use that. Down here is normally going to be a list of Patreon members and supporters, and then a message down here from either a member of the community or Frooxius or a sponsor maybe. And it's usually a nice little message. Some of them are pretty funny too.